let's go with Morgan. How are you feeling right now? Are you ready?
I knew you was gonna do that. I'm ready. Tag, I'm there.
You know. Yeah. Well, look, do me a favor. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself. Tell them about the book you're going to be reading from. And the question I always ask, which is always interesting to hear, is what inspired you to become an author?
Okay. Well, my name is Morgan Rees. I'm 49 years old. I have three adult children, 31. My son will be 30 on Christmas. I have a 25-year-old, and I have three grandkids. Um, I am a survivor of life's journey. I'm a survivor of my life's journey. I'm a survivor, a four-time sexual assault survivor. I'm a survivor of emotional abuse, mental abuse, domestic violence, child abuse. Um, and I am grateful by God's grace that I am still here and I was able to be the person that I am today, regardless of everything that I've been through. I've been told a lot that I lived enough lives to last me 10 lifetimes. So that means I'm gonna live a long time. That means I'm gonna live a long, long time with God's grace. Um, the title of my book that I'm gonna be reading from today is Endurance is Victory. And basically it will be depicting some of the other things that I went through in my journey of life from birth until now. I'm actually going to be working on a second book once the final part of my chapter comes to where I need to be. There'll be a part two. What prompted me or inspired me to be an author, and I didn't even think I was going to actually be an author. I actually started writing my book about 10 years ago. And it was only because I was going through things with my ex-husband at the time. And my mother-in-law, she told me to stop calling her my ex, but my mother-in-law, uh, he would always call her for a lot of different things. And I kind of had a moment and I was like, no, you need to stop listening to him. You need to just tell him to be a man and take care of his family, blah, blah, blah. And she said, oh my goodness, you've been through a lot. And I just kind of went in and she said, you need to go to counseling. And I was like, no, I'm not going to counseling. You just need to get your son right. I did this before. I'm not going to counseling anymore. And so I actually went. And when I went, my counselor, it was a rape crisis counselor, and she said, you need to write a book. She said, it's going to help you heal. I said, write a book. I ain't write no book. And she said, yeah, you should do that. And so I went home and just started writing. And every so often, every year, I would pick it up, put it back down, pick it up, write some more stuff, put it back down because of the content. And believe it or not, COVID is what pushed me to publish to get my book published. Because
Hmm.
for years, everyone kept saying, "Oh, you need it. When you gonna finish that book? You've been talking about that book forever." My fiance kept saying, "You when you gonna finish that book?" I'm like, "Oh, y'all still remember the book? Oh, okay." So COVID hit. I guess something hit in me, and here I am with the book. And I guess it was my confirmation because when President Biden was elected, the poetess was speaking about endurance. We have overcome.
Hmm.
We are victorious. We have overcame. And I said, oh, she's talking about my book. So here I am.
Wow. Wow. That's an incredible story. Um, and I know you and I spoke earlier. I always applaud women, the women and men, because we've had men that come on to do the same thing that actually make themselves vulnerable in their writing. That's something that Laquita and I talk about quite often. Melanie and I talk about quite often.
Yeah.
When you can actually pour your everything into this book, and make people feel a certain way. Release. I think it's also a therapeutic
Yes.
for you to actually do that. So no, I definitely commend you. I definitely commend you. I thank God that you were able to, make it through. But
Thank
look, I'm not gonna keep talking. Like I said, I know that you are looking to you're looking to perform to a track,
you. Yeah.
maybe.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. That's my goal. My prayer to God is that I want this on screen. I want it
Okay,
on. Hearing the words is different than seeing the actual words be put on screen. Because you can read, you can hear the words. You can like, oh my gosh, I wonder what that looked like. I wonder how that was, how that
I
felt.
agree. I
And
agree. I agree.
oh, in my prayer from the day that I started writing this a long time ago. I said, you know what? I want this in the movie somewhere. I want it on screen,
Hmm.
so you can be able to
Hmm.
put the visualization to the wording that was in the book. Because I always say
Cool.
the book. Sometimes the book is good, and then sometimes the movies are better. You have some books that
Hmm.
are see the movie, and you're like, oh, that was crap, and then you see a movie like, I rather read the book.
Hmm. 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 Well, cool. Well, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. So, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I introduce to you Morgan Rees.
Thank you guys again. I really appreciate your time, and I'm so blessed. And honored that every time I asked my mother about my daddy Richard, I was told by my mother that she did not know and that she did not care, that he was a drug dealer and that he stayed in and out of jail, and I was better off without him. But I did not care because I knew he would protect me and he would never mess with me in a bad way. From what I was told by my family, his mother or his aunts, my family all told me he really loved me and he missed me, especially because I. But my mother still insisted there was no reason for me to see him. It did not matter to me was or what he did. He was still my daddy, and I needed him because I knew my dad would get that man for doing what he did to me. After I got through that ordeal, we continued to stay in their apartment. Then, not too long after the trial, my mom met another man, which I think she was dating the whole time we were back and going back and forth to court, and is using church as an excuse to leave the house and be with this man. But this man named Fred, my mother met, who eventually became her second husband and the father of her two boys, who's supposed to be a former police officer and a preacher, a bishop of a church. Fred was not the man I thought he would be, and he was not a father figure in my eyes. This man also turned my mother into a minister, and she became a reverend of his church organization. At first, Fred seemed like an okay guy until time went on, and I really got to know him, which did not take very long. By this time, I was about 13 years old, and I felt my mom loved and cared about him even more than before, especially because he was not my sister's father, he was not mine, and he supposedly had money. My mother was always with this guy. I started seeing the same pattern that happened with the first man happen again with the second man. But me still being a child, I had to deal with it because I had no say in anything or did not have the right to say anything. The longer she stayed with the guy, the closer she became to him, to where she started sending me over to his house to cook and clean for him on weekends while she took care of other things. You're probably wondering why a 13-year-old child was cooking and cleaning for her mother's boyfriend when she should do that herself. But again, me not knowing any better and thinking to myself that everything was fine, I really thought nothing of it. After a few visits to his house, I thought maybe he was a nice guy and that my mom finally found the right guy, right? Wrong. The next time I went to his house was the last time I ever wanted to go back because it happened to me again. Yes, this man raped me also, just like the first husband. The way Fred approached me was by telling me he knew what took place to me before with Greg and said that was wrong what he did to you because he wasn't being a fatherly figure, but that this is how a father's supposed to treat his daughter. Fred even said that my mom agreed this time and that it was okay for him to do this to me. Mind you, I was such an idiotic and very naive young lady, and I really thought that my mother really approved of this. This happened to me before, and she really didn't make a big deal out of it like I thought she would. So maybe I deserved it, and she did give him the okay. So first time he finished his business, I ran home wondering what I was gonna do this time. I thought, should I tell my mom? Was she gonna believe me or not? Because it happened once, maybe it cannot happen again. And if I told the cops again, they also probably would think I was lying. And I was also making all this up, especially since Fred was a former cop, so I was told. I was feeling like there was something wrong with me because this was not supposed to happen twice with two different men that my mom was with and supposedly loved them, and they loved her, so I thought. At that point, I started thinking whether this time I let him on, or maybe I wore the wrong type of clothes, or said something wrong that made him want to do this to me. I also started thinking why all my mother's men were approaching me. What was wrong with her? Or what was wrong with me? And why was she constantly choosing the wrong men? If only my dad was here, none of this would have happened, and I would finally be safe.
um, First of all, that was a great read. Um,
Thank you.
I'm going to say more, but I'm going to go over to some of the other people in the room. I'm going to start with I'm going to start with Carolyn. Carolyn, what did you think about Morgan's read?
Oh, I enjoyed her read. What it had a sense of intrigue in it for me. I always try to figure out the movie or the story as I began. Um, as I've said in the past, each person's read should evoke some type of emotion in you, and that invoked, a sense of where you're just disgusted with people for taking advantage of other people. That's the emotion it evoked in me tonight. And it's one of those shake your head moments where you're just minding your own business, doing what you're told, and people just take advantage of you. But the read itself, it flowed very, very well. Um, she kept us interested, that's for sure. Thank you
Mhm.
for sharing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you for sharing.
I appreciate
Good deal. Good deal. Let me go to I want to go to Jacqueline. Back to Jacqueline for a second. Jacqueline, what did you think about Morgan's read?
I thought it was captivating. It definitely caught my attention in the beginning. Her story is a mirror to a lot of people's story, and yeah, I just want to let you know, God is covering you and continues to cover you, and you already know it ain't your fault. But if you don't know, you know now. It's not your fault. But from what it looks like, the book is going towards. It seems, to me, I'm gonna state my opinion. You could tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I just feel like it was a setup. And a lot of times, mothers do that to their daughters in order to keep men in their life. And I really hope that that's not what happened. But the way that the book is going towards, to me, it seems like that was the case. And I thank you so much for your story. Like Miss Laquita always say, it's always somebody on the other end of your story that can relate. So, just by you letting your story out, it's people out here like me, people out here like a lot of us on here right now, or that's probably going to do the replay and listen to this, that have been through similar things like that. So I just applaud you for your transparency. I applaud you for your courage and your strength to be able to endure that, and to be able to come out, kicking and screaming and fighting, and still holding your ground, and being the strong woman that you are. So God bless you.
Thank you, Jacqueline. You actually were right. She did hold on to both of them. And actually, after my book came out, and she finally, I wasn't going to give it to her because I was told not to give it to her, and she actually admitted, she was like, it wasn't nothing personal, it was business.
Mm, mm,
Um,
mm, mm,
so that's the level of this book of forgiveness. You know, she's still my
mm,
mom. He's still my dad. They're the reason why I'm still on this earth, and I have my own family. To say that they're mine, I'm actually blessed and honored to say I have my own generation now. I have grandkids. So yeah, that was basically the whole what happened to me. Nobody did anything, didn't do anything about it. So I'm gonna let it happen to you.
Yeah,
mm,
exactly. And that's why I knew. That's why I said I could tell how this going. That's how people done been through it. When you been through it and you walk through that valley of the shadow of death, you fear no evil. For
Yes.
thou art with you. You know
Oh,
what I'm saying? That right, that staff, they comfort you and they prepare that table before you in the presence of your enemies. So
mhm.
God will sometimes take what the enemy used for bad and turn it into your good. And your test is always gonna be your testimony. Your trial is always gonna be your success story. So, I applaud you. And once again,
Thank
you are remarkable. You are wonderful. And you are wonderfully made in Jesus' name. And that's why you are here now, for people who have been through that, who are scared to tell their story
you.
because of what other people gonna think. And a lot of times we don't get that confirmation, but we know what's going on. And for your mother to be able to come out and tell you that, is remarkable too. And people be like, well, Jackie, why you say it's remarkable? It's remarkable because it took for you to have the courage to write it, for her to give you that confirmation that she did that to you, And like your person said, that's therapy. That's therapy for you. So
Yeah.
now you can let it go and leave it at the altar and walk away from it. Walk away from it stronger. So God bless you.
Thank you.
Let me jump to Carol. Carol, thank you, Jacqueline. Let me jump to Caroline. Caroline, are you there? What do you think about Morgan's read?
It was a really powerful piece. I put in the chat that, sadly, so many young boys and girls are going through these every day, and it just breaks your heart for all these children who are powerless in these situations. Thank you.
You're
You're
welcome.
welcome.
Thank
And I got to go to one other person. Laquita, I saw you jump out. What do you think about a read?
Um, I agree, Morgan. I agree with what everybody just said. I just wanted to say to you, thank you so much for having the strength and the courage to share your story. There is power in your story, and I sincerely believe within all of my heart that there is somebody waiting on the other side of your story so that they can start the healing process. They don't know that they can get to where you are, and your story is powerful. And unfortunately, there are so many of our children who go through this every single day, and some of them don't get to where you are. Some of them don't get there. They take their lives before they can get there. There is nobody to run to, nobody to talk to, and the people who are charged to take care of us and to love us are the ones who are doing the damage.
you.
So I say continue to tell your story. Every avenue that you can tell your story, every platform that you have the opportunity to share your story, share it. If you have to create a platform to share your story, do that. Share your story because somebody needs to hear it. I am so, so very proud of you and for your bravery. And I say thank you for sharing. And I want to say this too. Sometimes there are things that go on in our lives and we don't share those things. We don't tell our stories because we don't want to offend somebody, or we don't want to upset mama. We don't want to upset daddy. We don't want to upset people. But we're the ones walking around with all of this pain and all of this stuff on the inside of us when they go to bed at night.
Yeah.
So
That was
share
me.
your story and be free. Right. I love that. Share your story. Continue to share your story. And that's for anybody in the room that's listening. That's for anybody that's going to listen to the replay. Whether you've written your story or not, whether you choose to write your story and publish your story, that doesn't matter. Share your story and free yourself from the burden and the pain that you carry that manifests itself into mental health, into sickness, into diseases. Free yourself, tell your story. There's power in it. So Morgan, it's a powerful read. Listen, Indy, I'm gonna be buying books tonight. See, y'all. I mean, first Olivia's book. Now I got to go and buy Morgan's book. Listen, everybody on here need to be buying books tonight. They make great Christmas presents. Books are something that you can read
Yeah.
and you can gift it. You can share it. So purchase books, y'all. Don't go to Chick-fil-A this week. Okay, take Chick-fil-A money, buy some books. I'm just saying, if you can't afford the hard copy, buy the ebook. Buy
Yeah.
the you just support and buy. It's a lot that goes into it, y'all. I'm just serious. And I buy books for Christmas, so y'all make it good and let me know if y'all. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm gonna have to hop off soon, but I will be listening to the replay. And I'm buying books. So if y'all want me to buy y'all book, y'all better know
Well, I
this
appreciate
Christmas
that.
present after I read
I
them.
appreciate
Okay.
the Twitter.
Indy, I'd like to
I
say
really do.
something.
Oh, go ahead, Olivia.
Morgan, it's interesting because when you came on, you were like, "Oh, I'm 49. I have 3 adult children, grandchildren, and it just, you just it you had such a overwhelming presence, very positive, and everything." And then I read the title of your book, Endurance is Victory, and I'm like, And then when you started reading your story, it was like you kind of like reverted back to that little girl. I
Mm.
didn't, you know, when you were sharing it, reading your story. And then I kind of felt like the little girl that always used to ask her mom about, Mommy, can I sleep over, my friend's house? Oh, it's too many boys over there. Or, no, you can't sleep over there. And I used to be like, oh, so upset that I wasn't able to sleep over a friend's house. But it's just like, I kind of felt, when you were reading it, I just felt like I just got so scared. It was so triggering. Um, but needless to say, I think that you have a powerful message and you definitely need to share your story. And I just want to say really quickly, because I know that there have been a few times that I've mentioned in this group that I am a publicist. And oftentimes authors become sort of like, oh, I can't afford no publicist,
Mhm.
or I'm not a big enough author to have a publicist. Consider it. And I'm not just saying about me, because there's plenty of them around, but really consider it, because you've written a book, and what a publicist do is help you get that message out there and let people hear it. So when you're being interviewed and you're talking about the story, or if there is an incident that happened involving rape, you can speak towards it because you've experienced it, and it's a great segue into your book. So, like I said, your message is so powerful that I heard the little girl, and I became the little girl that, my mom telling me all this stuff, and I'm just like, I could never understand why she would say that. And then just getting scared. So please share, continue to share your story. It was very powerful, and I really enjoyed it. And
Thank,
definitely will be purchasing your book.
thank you, Olivia. Actually, that was that little girl. Believe it or not, I have a sister who's special needs, and we're 5 years apart. And so I basically have had to take care of her since I was like 7 or 8 years old. I'm actually
Mm,
her guardian now. She lives in a group home in Philly. So I've always been the person to take care of all my siblings, including my mom. Um,
mm,
schizophrenic. So I've always been placed in the role of being a parent before I was supposed to be a parent. I had my first child at 14. I,
mm,
I lost that baby, stillborn, and then I had my oldest at 16. So I've always been placed in a role to be an adult. And
mm,
actually, this year was my first time ever actually taking a trip outside of up north and down south, believe it or not.
mm,
And I went to Mexico, and I went with a cousin of mine's, and the devil gets busy, and she actually brought it to my attention. She said, "You realize you raised your kids as a kid?" I said, "No, I didn't. I was grown. I was 16. I was on my own at 16. What are you talking about?" And she said, "No." She said, "16 years old is not grown. You were still a kid." She said,
mm,
"Raise your children when you were raising yourself. You and your kids grew up together because you
mm.
had them at such a young age." And it never hit me until when she said that, and I was like, "Really? Oh, okay. Well, I never thought about that."
Yeah,
So
because
yeah,
you've always felt that you were an adult.
right.
You're not even thinking about your childhood because you're having to take care of this one and take care of that one, and
Yeah.
at the same time you're being taken advantage of,
Yeah.
and being,
They go outside.
sexually assaulted.
Yeah, when you say go outside, outside meant I had to take my sister with me all the time, and at that
Mm,
time we lived in a 2-story apartment, so I had to
mm.
take the wheelchair down, then take her down, and then
And
spend.
that's a lot if you've ever been a caregiver.
Oh yeah,
So
it is. It is.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
And
Well,
even now,
thank you.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Again, it was a great read, Morgan. Absolutely great read.
You weren't ready for that.
No, no, I know you and I talked earlier. No, I wasn't. I'm going to say this very quickly because I know we need to go to the next author. But one of the things you talked about was critiquing your performance. Um, the only recommendation I personally would give, and is first of all, it was great. Your voice is great. Um, I heard strength in your voice, which is a beautiful thing. That's what I heard. I heard strength. I heard overcoming in your voice. But I guess from a technical standpoint, the only thing I would possibly recommend is with the highs and the lows, take your time and breathe.
Okay.
You don't have to run through it, but it's kind of like when you're telling the story and you make the pauses when you need to make the pauses. You speed up when you need to speed up. But I would just practice on that. And it's rooms like this, um, podcast. Anytime you like, I think it was Laquita. I don't know if it was Laquita or Olivia, but anytime you get an opportunity to read, I would. But yeah, just continue to work on that. Outside of that, I agree with what everybody said. You have a story that is going to touch a lot of lives. And definitely, if the more you're able to get it out there, the more you're going to be able to help a lot of people. But I think everybody in the room applauds you for your bravery, your courage, your allowing yourself to be vulnerable in this public space, or any other public space. When you write a book, it's it. And there was one last thing. I think Laquita made the comment about, um, you'll have family members that won't want you to write the book because they don't want you to talk about daddy
Too late.
or stepdaddy or all that type of. And they're more concerned about being embarrassed about
Right.
how it's going to make the family look
Right.
instead of how the little private hell that you have had to endure.
Right.
Um,
I went through that already since the book has came out.
oh yeah, oh yeah. I tell, and again, I'm being around that age bracket. I tell people, at this point, you speak your truth.
Right.
If these things happened and this is something that, especially if this is something that is going to help you, definitely speak up. Definitely speak up. Because I'm sorry, I don't care what anybody else thinks. If I was traumatized, I'm not going to worry about you and how it's going to affect you because in that I'm getting this out of me.
Right.
So it's actually selfish. So no, I applaud you. I commend you. And anytime you want to come back, like I tell most people like I tell everybody on the book slam, I tell everybody you're only here, like they used to say in my church, you're only here a visitor here once.
Right.
After that, you're part of the family. So anytime that you want to come back, please do. We'd love to, hear you read more, encourage you, and that goes for everybody in the room. That goes for absolutely everybody in the room. What were you going to say?
I appreciate that offer. I definitely would like to come back. I really
Yeah.
appreciate for, constructive criticism. Um, you guys not going to get emotional because I'm a crybaby, so I'm gonna be good. I'm gonna wait till I call. But I will tell y'all a lot of people who actually finally read the book, who were actually family members who did not know, and people who know me always tell me, "You don't look like nothing you've been through in your book. You don't act like nothing you've been through your book." And what I tell everyone is all about God's grace. It's not me. It's Him. I truly believe that He's using me as His vessel to share my journey to someone else who may need it because I didn't have that support and backing when I was going through my journey. I want to be able to do that to someone else. I want to give someone else what wasn't given to me. And if that means I have to expose myself, then the exposure was there from birth. You know, They-
Hmm.
I look at it like this: no one wanted me here from the time was born into this world on 9/7/73. But look at me today on 12/6/12/20/2022 at 9 o'clock in the evening. I am still
Hmm.
alive, and I'm here for a reason.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. That's
Thank,
exactly right.
thank you,
Thank
guys.
you so much. Where can they get the book? Where can they
Um,
get the book?
you can purchase it on Amazon. I'm still working on the other avenues, but it's on Amazon. It's on Kindle, so you can purchase it there. I'm trying to work on Barnes and Noble. So my nail tech keeps saying books a million, books a million. I'm like, okay, give me a minute, give me a minute. So once God helps me get to the platform where I need to be to place it on the other ones, that's my goal. I told you I wanted on screen too. So now
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
you guys, yeah, I don't know how nervous I was at first when I came on here to hear all of y'all's feedback, and it was positive and with feedback, positive feedback and advice. I'm gonna move forward. because I've been
Good deal.
holding back since I published it, which is 2 years ago. So no
Hmm.
hold it back now. But right, and it's on Kindle.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, thank you so much, man. Again, great
Thank you.
read. A great
Have
book.
the rest of y'all.
Okay, absolutely great book.
But I'm gonna stay.
Absolutely great.
I heard your message earlier.
No worries. No worries. No worries. No worries. We want you to stay. We want you to stay.